going on with people who are so aggressive, who are so disregarding of life. What's going on in the society? I know in America in 1962, Madeline Murray O'Hara, because of her skanky self, got the Bibles taken out of the schools because her son came home and said, "Mom, they want me to read the Bible because they have a Bible study in the first part of the day." And she said, "Well, let me see about this." And her dad was very religious and was kind of get her to go the right way. And she kept cussing at him and said, "You know, screw you. If I want to go out and screw a guy, get pregnant, have a baby out of wedlock, that's my business," right? And so so she was the cause of our getting the Bible out of school, right? So then it just seemed like America just started going down the drain, just down the drain. Now some people could say, "Oh, it wasn't the Bible; it was something in general." Well, I'm just looking for the root of the problem, right? The root of the problem. Okay, we had civil distress, and that's why Martin Luther King was doing the civil rights thing. But really, it should have been just human rights, not civil rights, because it was our unalienable rights to pursue happiness. That's not a civil right. That's just a human right. So a lot of things were happening in America at that time that led to this. President Johnson, I say it over and over again, President Johnson signing the bill for the Welfare Act. But at the time he signed that, it was 75% black two-parent households. And that welfare bill, and everybody, the liberals, this is so nice, everybody was saying, "Oh, so nice, we're going to help the poor." But part of the attachment on that bill was, if we help you with feeding your children or help you in any way with welfare, you have to get the man out of the house. So the first generation that lived through that, they kept the man in the house. He said, "Okay, I'm out of work. I got to do whatever I got to do." Then the second generation came around and said, "Wait a minute, there's no jobs in this area. It's crime invested. So, okay, man, you got to go. Okay, I got a baby right here. Let's have 2 or 3 babies. I get like $250. I don't know. Let's say back in the day, it was probably like $75 per baby. I can live good if you're not in the house." So the guy said, "Okay, we'll make this deal. Get the government, get on the government breast, suck the milk from the government, and let's do it the lazy way, right?" So, okay, then the next generation come on. Now we got the situation where it was 75% two-parent household in the black community. Now it's only 25%. So step by step, the Democrats and the Distocrats, with their policies, this is what we have. Now we have to take personal responsibility too. Okay, there's no jobs in our area. Stores are moving out. Marketplaces are moving out. There's no banks in those poor communities, right? And you have to look at us and saying like, why didn't we wake up in the midst of that and say, wait a minute, we had to turn this around. I remember in the 1960s, it was a radio station called k.k.k radio. And I remember me and my brother and sister, we would joke around because you couldn't dance to Christian contemporary music. And if you read the book of David, when Michael got mad at him when he was dancing very wildly, and she says, "Shall the king take off all of his clothes and dance before all the girls?" Right? And King David said, "Well, you're so jealous, King. You're so jealous, Michael. Yes, I will dance even harder before the women." Right? And then the Bible said Michael never had any children later. You got to read it for yourself. There's some interesting stories in the Old Testament. So anyway, getting back to this. So if we would dance to the music, we would say, I'm going to tell Mom, you're dancing to Christian contemporary music. And I say that to say this. Dr. Daddio had to get sponsors to sponsor the gospel train with, what's her name? Sylvia, what was her name? Gospel train with Sylvia. I think her name was Sylvia, but I don't remember. So he had to go out and get sponsors. Well, at that time, they were redlining us to stay in a certain area so they can control us, right? And if you went to apply for a job, this is in the 60s now, apply for a business. If you were African American, they would give you right away a license to own a liquor store. But if you want to own something different than that, then it was a little bit more problems. So in the black community, there was a church, liquor store, church, liquor store, church, liquor store. And I found it extremely weird, and I'm just like this 9-year-old saying, there's a lot of liquor commercials on k.k.k. Doesn't the Bible talk about, moderation? But, you would have 6 commercials of liquor stores, right? And that's how he had to get the revenue so he could pay the DJs at k.k.k. Because at that time, that was the opportunities that were in Colorado. And I found out this. I never knew this. I often wonder why I'd never seen any black substitute teachers in Colorado. And then I found out, I was talking to this lady, Miss Lucy, who's 80 years old, who was a teacher back then. She says it was illegal in Denver, Colorado for a black teacher to be a substitute teacher in the 60s. And that law didn't change until 1975. Can you believe that? It was illegal for a black teacher to teach in the Denver public schools as a substitute teacher in Denver, Colorado. Now let that sink in. Let that sink in. Because they don't teach that in school. Yeah, they do not teach that in school, and they monetize us to make it seem like blacks did nothing in America. We built America, but you read the history books and just this little dot of information back in the 60s and 70s, little dot of information, like we didn't do nothing, right? They erased our past history. Then they put a little dot, in the history book, a little dot. And I'm in junior high. I'm reading, and God bless my history teacher. Good guy. And he was just reading. He was just teaching us what was in the book. He didn't know either, right? And I got A's and B's in that class, because it was easy just to regurgitate what they was telling me. But when you got what the blacks did, black was slavery. They didn't tell us about the perversionism of these guys in the South. Not only were they screwing their sisters, but when they got tired of the sisters, because the white says, "Hey, get out of here, you're stinky," or whatever, I don't know. They went out to the slave barn and say, "Well, let me get me." They used to call them a belly warmer. Get what we wanted, and of course the mother, degradation. She says, well, okay, the master would say, hey, I'll give you some extra blankets. I'll give you some extra pig mogs and all this stuff if you let me sleep with your daughter. You don't have to, I could take her because I'm the master, right? So, hey, the light-skinned black people didn't come from us screwing the white women. It came from the white boy going out into the woodshed, screwing the black girls, and that's where it came from. And if you didn't apply, then they'll just hang you up and whoop your ass, right? Or cut your balls off.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic history of America. So get right back up, and that was done by Democrats. Yes, the Democrats, they in 1826. The guy who ran for president at that time, he wanted slavery. He wanted the KKK to start up. Oh no, slavery was going out. He started up the KKK. that went all the way through the 60s with the Jim Crow laws. Not the Republicans, but then we could say in Colorado in the 20s, the Republicans were racist here in Colorado.